How we accidentally sent our neighbor to psychiatric care. A few years ago, my wife started her master's, and I began my PhD in a new city, in a country with strong tenant rights. We could only afford an apartment in a pretty shady neighborhood. For the most part, it was fine and we got along with the neighbors. Except for one. Next door was a roommate setup with 3 guys. One moved out right after we moved in. At first, we didn't think much of it, but soon one of the remaining roommates confided that the other was trying to kick him out to get the place to himself. Things got bad between them, arguments, regular police calls. But it didn't involve us. Eventually, the roommate moved out, and the one who stayed behind went berserk. He partied until 6 a.m. almost every weekend, triggering more police calls from the neighbors. He was searched for drugs at least 2 times, threw bottles off his balcony, and even attacked a neighbor. At first, he was polite to us. When we asked him to turn down his music, he usually did. He even invited us over occasionally. One time, he showed us his drug collection and tried to toss another bottle off the balcony. We stopped him. Everything changed when he lost his job. The loud music became a daily thing, and he didn't care anymore when we complained. This was a huge problem for my wife, who was studying at home and couldn't focus. The landlady, an older, totally overburdened woman, was already planning his eviction, so our complaints were just the final straw, but she took her time. During one of those visits to his apartment, I noticed his big Sonos speakers, controlled by Wi-Fi. That gave me an idea. I got an old university laptop, installed Linux and a Wi-Fi penetration test package, and we had control. Anytime the music got too loud, we'd shut down his entire network. One command, instant silence. Occasionally followed by his frustrated screams. We weren't petty about it, we let him play his music. But when it got unbearable, we pulled the plug. The feeling of being able to defend yourself was great. One weekday, his music was blasting again, and my wife turned off his network. This time, he lost it. Screaming, slamming doors, smashing walls. We called the police, who initially shrugged it off as a simple disturbance until they heard his name. "Oh, him," they said. Couple of minutes later, a swarm of officers showed up. He didn't really cooperate and ended up being sent to a psychiatric ward for a few days. When he came back, he apologized, with a terrifying, leather-clad, 6.5 feet tall, Italian-looking probation officer standing behind him, and moved out a few weeks later. It stayed quiet until he left. He never found out that we messed with his network that day and indirectly put him into psychiatric care. But honestly, he had it coming.